Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment on what you thought of this story. I met her at dusk, a girl with bird-bone wrists and a gaze that perched on everything but me. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and hunger. The fridge hummed louder than conversation. Her mother called it a blessing, 40 days without food and not even tired. I checked vitals while a kitchen clock tapped its fingernail against the hour. "Do you believe in miracles?" the mother asked, arranging napkins into perfect squares. The girl, Mara, smiled politely at her empty plate, as if it were a shy friend. I said I believed in people, which is true and often unwelcome. Outside, wind combed the hedges. Inside, silence braided itself around the room. When I asked about dizziness, Mara said the air felt full, like bread before it rises. The father cleared his throat and looked at the ceiling, the way some men look at God. I wrote down numbers that didn't argue, and a feeling that did. My second visit, I noticed the threes. The family liked them. 3 crosses above the mantel, 3 candles burning to uneven stubs, and 3 magnets on a fridge that held no lists. The clock read 3:17 when I unpacked my kit, though we'd scheduled noon. Mara's pulse hid and then decided to be found. Her skin was cool like church stone. Her little brother, Eli, shuffled past with a recorder tucked in his sweater. In the hallway, a framed photograph had been turned face down. Dust respected the edges. I asked about it. "Old times," the mother said, smile stitched tight. When Mara laughed, it sounded like paper. When the father prayed, it sounded like weather. Something knocked in the vents, dull, patient, not a pipe. I heard or imagined a blender whir from somewhere it shouldn't. The lemon cleaner smelled stronger, as if courage could be wiped on. On my way out, Eli slipped me a folded paper, his eyes a secret handshake. Inside, a single line in blocky pencil, "She eats when the house sleeps." It wasn't accusation, it was a map drawn by a child. I sat in my car and let the heater thaw my hands while the note warmed the rest of me. If Mara was eating, good. If she was hiding it, why? Denial wears a halo when it's frightened enough. I texted myself the observation and didn't send it anywhere official yet. At home, I opened my window to cold air and the city's long, low hum. I dreamed of a table set for 3, chairs counting to 2. A door closed gently in my sleep and left the latch lifted. When I woke, a voicemail waited with no number, breathing, soft, then a whisper, "Listen at night." I returned unofficially, parked half a block away and walked slow enough to be mistaken for undecided. Windows blinked blue TV light. A hymn climbed the glass like ivy. At 12:03, the blender whirred, then cut, then whirred again. Measured, secret, kind. Through the gap in the back curtain, I saw the father at the counter, back hunched, pouring something thick into a thermos. He turned once, the profile of a man who loved a rule until it failed someone he loved more. On the table lay a Bible, opened to a page that held an envelope like a roof. The envelope was labeled, in the mother's careful script, "For weak moments." When the house went dark, I heard a floorboard cry and a door whisper down the hall. I didn't knock. I watched silence walk from room to room and stop at Mara's. The clock in my pocket phone blinked 3:17 again, a small, faithful ghost. I went home with the taste of crushed vitamins on my tongue, though I'd had none. Morning rounds brought sunshine that felt borrowed. While the mother fetched water, Eli tugged my sleeve and opened the bread box like a magician. Inside, not bread, spiral notebooks, pastel covers salted with crumbs. He handed me the top one. It smelled like pencil and closed windows. Mara's handwriting started tall and then ducked, as if the words learned to hide. "I can't be the miracle they want," one line read, "but I can be quiet." She'd drawn a small square next to some entries, each marked with a time, 3:17. On those pages, no letters, only a pressed petal or a smudge where a word had been. Footsteps returned, Eli slid the journal back, palms sweaty with bravery. I asked for permission I had already used, which is the easiest kind. No one confessed, the house let the fridge talk for it. They invited me to service, a room above a laundromat that smelled like hot lint and hope. The pastor's voice was smooth as furniture polish and just as nourishing. When he spoke of signs, the congregation turned to look at Mara the way people watch meteors. Her mother glowed with a grief that wore makeup well. The father clapped after each song, long after the last note, as if time were negotiable. A donation box passed, coins sounded like apologies hitting the bottom. Afterwards, I caught the mother alone by the stairwell. I asked why that photograph was face down, and she breathed out a season. "Our oldest," she said, "Hannah." She didn't say died, she said, "We gave her back." The stairwell light buzzed like a fly that knew the window was closed. Sleep unspooled me early, delivering a room with 2 beds and 1 heartbeat. Mara sat on one, Hannah on the other, identical, except for the color of their quiet. Between them, a tray with 2 bowls, the spoons kept choosing Mara. "Fairness is a kind of hunger," Dream Hannah said, and the lamp flickered like it agreed. I woke with the taste of salt and the shape of a word not meant for day. At work, I checked the chart like a pilgrim kissing a threshold. Electrolytes argued with folklore. Weight tried its best to be brave. When I returned that evening, the face-down photograph had moved half an inch on the shelf. A draft, perhaps. An intention, more likely. Mara watched me watch it and didn't say anything. We shared a look made of thread. Thin, strong, pulled tight between 2 needles. Eli found a cassette under the couch. A relic wrapped in lint in the past. The label read, HNH, 9th birthday. The missing letters enough to make a name. We fed it into an old player that ate songs carefully. A child laughed. Then a hymn began, sung slightly off-key by a mother who trusted the melody to forgive her. The father's voice in the background, "Blow the candles, both of you." 2 breaths, 1 flame. The tape hissed like rain on a tin roof. The mother entered and froze, hands making fists of air. She lifted the tape, pressed it to her chest, and didn't scold. She sank into a chair as if gravity had doubled. "I can't lose 2, she said to the room, and the room believed her. Mara looked at the empty plate on the table and blinked slowly, twice, like answering a question I hadn't asked. That night I wrote, not denial, bargain, not miracle, memorial. At 3:17, my phone trembled on the nightstand. A message from unknown. Stop telling her to eat. She eats for the one who can't. I typed 3 replies and erased them all. In the quiet after, I heard the low, distant sound of a train, steel grieving forward. The next morning, the father answered the door with eyes too bright. He thanked me for respecting their journey, a word people use when map and road disagree. I asked to weigh Mara. The scale whispered the truth and then apologized for it. In the living room, the face-down photo lay now on its back, front skyward. 2 girls in yellow dresses. A breeze deciding which ribbon to love more. The mother didn't turn it over again. I asked if we could talk privately. She nodded at the laundry room. We sat on the washer like women at a dock, watching a tide that never chose us. "I hear a blender at night," I said, "and I'm glad." She closed her eyes, and tears didn't fall. They settled, the way dust settles in rooms that still get used. "Faith doesn't mind hunger," she whispered, "but children do." She told me about the hospital winter, the ventilator's snowstorm, the chaplain's warm hands, how Hannah stopped wanting food, then stopped wanting even water, and how the word fasting arrived as a rope the family could hold. How Mara began leaving portions untouched, the kind of loyalty that finds you before you grow into it. "How do I tell them the miracle is that she's still here?" she asked. The dryer buzzed, a gentle alarm we both ignored. We started with a small truth, a spoon that belongs to now. The washer clicked off and the house exhaled. On Tuesday, Mara wasn't home. The mother said retreat, the father said youth service. Eli said nothing and stared at his shoelaces as if they'd learned a new knot. I checked the room. Bed made with military hope, window cracked to let in the weather, a note on the pillow. If I eat, do I erase her? I called numbers until voices got tired of telling me they didn't know things. At 3:17, I heard the blender again, this time from a different address. The laundromat upstairs chapel where Faith rents by the hour. I went there, slow, so the floorboards wouldn't think I was hunting. Through the half-open door, I saw Mara at a folding table, a styrofoam cup of something beige in front of her. The pastor hovered, smile loaded with righteousness, hand ready to remove the cup like a trick. The father stood behind him, hand on the pastor's wrist. Not tonight. We sat together, the four of us, in a room that smelled like detergent and hymns. I lifted the spoon and waited for the room to choose me or not. Mara took it, tremor light, and sipped once, twice, eyes wet not with tears, but with trying. The pastor began a sentence about witness, but the father shook his head. Even silence obeyed. "She won't erase Hannah," I said. "She writes beside her." The mother nodded, a slow bow to a smaller altar. Eli played 3 notes on his recorder that echoed like a lullaby left on a windowsill. Outside, rain began without asking permission from clouds. We didn't call it a miracle, we called it dinner. Later, in the kitchen, I found the envelope in the Bible again, now empty. 4 weak moments had been redeemed. The clock forgot 3:17 for the first time since I'd met it. When we finally rehung the photo, a folded letter slid from the frame back. Hannah's handwriting, 12 and certain. "If I go first, don't make Mara carry me. Make her carry a picnic instead." The mother laughed and cried at once, which is the only honest way to do either. We planned a picnic for a day that wasn't ready yet. Mara ate half a sandwich and put the other half on a second plate, that no one moved. The father fixed the creak in the hallway vent. The knocking stopped, as if it had only wanted to be noticed. Light visited the house like it remembered our names. The blender became a daytime sound. The night found other songs. I wrote the progress note I'd been waiting to write. At the bottom, I added, not for the chart, "Faith is a table with 1 more chair than grief requested." A hospital case manager called. Donations had paid off a lingering bill I'd never mentioned outside the home. No name attached, just an amount and a timestamp, 3:17 a.m. I don't believe in accidents. I believe in patterns that get brave. The pastor announced a shift in focus from fasting to celebrating sustenance, a phrase that sounded like a lawsuit had taught it manners. The mother joined a support group that met in a church basement with poor coffee and good chairs. Eli learned a song that didn't need a recorder. Mara baked bread with me one afternoon. The kitchen smelled like the beginning of forgiveness. She said, "I dreamed Hannah asked for the crusts," and we both smiled like people do when they're listening to the same radio. The loaf cracked as it cooled, tiny thunder soft as a secret. We ate warm slices with butter that forgot to be shy. I went back alone to the upstairs chapel. The windows wore handprints of light. A broom leaned like a tired usher. I left the empty weak moments envelope on the pulpit, and a thank you the room didn't need. On the bulletin board, a new flyer. Grief group, bring stories, leave none behind. I pinned Hannah's letters copy beside it, with permission. The vending machine ate my dollar and gave it back with interest. 2 packs of crackers, not 1. I took the stairs down, each step finding me instead of the other way around. Outside, wind fussed with my hair. The sky rehearsed rain and decided to hold it. A bus passed, windows glossy with strangers. Someone texted from an unknown number. "No more threes." I answered, "Just us." We held the picnic on a day that forgot what month meant. Grass bent under us. Ants practiced patience. The air tasted like green. The empty plate, the second one, sat between us. Not a shrine, a seat. Eli told a joke with the timing of a clock that had forgiven its job. The father cut apples with a pocket knife that must have seen a younger version of him. The mother closed her eyes when the wind moved, the way people do when they're trying not to miss a blessing that finally doesn't need chasing. Mara passed me a slice of bread, then broke another and set it on the second plate. We didn't say for whom. We didn't need to. When the shadow of a cloud crossed our blanket, it felt like a hand, cool, ordinary, kind. I don't know if the miracle was faith or truth or simply time doing its small, exact work. But some nights, at 3:17, I still wake and listen, not for a blender, not for a hymn, just for the sound of a house learning how to eat again.